There's a pair on the bed, touching each other on this lovely morning. Upon waking up, Sarah, our main character, leaves her fiancé August in bed and gets dressed. Next, with her cup of coffee in hand, Sarah heads to the rooftop, looking to be lost in contemplation. Subsequently, August assists Sarah with her suitcases and expresses his confusion at her departure. She ignores his attempts to tell her that he still loves her, and that's why she's leaving. Acknowledging that she made a mess of her house, Sarah begs Penelope, her friend and co-worker, to let her stay. Shaking her head, Penelope remarks that it makes her think of Sarah's dirty old college flat. Sarah is reassured by her that she is welcome to remain at her home for however long is necessary. As Penelope had to head back to her room for the night at the fashion business where she and Penelope worked the next day, the ladies bid each other good night. When she feels like taking a break, she enters a nearby coffee shop. She is waiting for her order when she observes the personnel of the business and strikes up a conversation by praising her scarf. The woman's name is Allie, which Sarah discovers after continuing to identify herself. Fearfully, Sarah says she'd love for her to come visit their shop sometime since they have these gorgeous scarves that she thinks Allie would look amazing in. That evening, Sarah seems to be a little lost in contemplation, as Penelope observes. Sarah is reluctant to talk to her when she tries to find out what's happening. After getting ready and taking a quick glance in the mirror, Sarah leaves for a neighboring lesbian pub. When a woman called Casey approaches her at the bar, she tells the bartender to start serving them right away. Sarah's drink is covered by Casey's. Sarah is the one who initiates the conversation to ask her to visit and look at the clothes at her workplace. After realizing that dresses aren't her only passion, Casey makes the decision to find out more about Sarah's hobbies. In addition to studying English, Sarah says she writes. She reveals with Casey that she is a journalist, which piques his interest. Although Sarah hasn't taken her drink since it was served, she can sense that she's worried. Subsequently, Sarah confesses to Casey that she is attracted to ladies, that she formerly dated a man she adored, and that she desires to date him once more. Casey tells Sarah that she may always stop by the bar if she sees her, even though she usually spends her weekends there before leaving. After taking a small sip of her drink, Sarah glances in Casey's direction. Finding her in the bathroom, she proceeds in the same direction. She pushes Casey inside unexpectedly and starts kissing her profusely. She hesitates to see if Casey is into her and thinks her appealing. She gives him more kisses and tries to push things further after receiving a nice reaction. Casey stops her because she realizes that Sarah is not a lesbian after all. Even though she has been with women before, this makes Sarah well up in tears, as she doesn't even understand anymore what's going on with her. She reveals that it's just one woman with whom there's probably no chance of them being together, yet she keeps seeing and hearing her in her head. Casey stares at her smiling and advises her to tell the woman in her head to shut up later. Sarah decides to dial a number that she isn't even expecting to go through. Surprisingly, the person at the other end picks up the call and Sarah quickly drops it. It seems that she is not yet ready to completely shut her out. She decides to head home. She sips some wine while continually asking if Penelope is awake or not, until she makes up her mind to go into Penelope's room. Sarah opens the door and tells Penelope that she's drunk, and also reveals that she's gay. She also tells Penelope that she would like to spend the night in her room if she doesn't mind. She assures her friend that she will not try to make out with her unless she wants to, although she doesn't even have the energy for all that she joins Penelope on the bed. Appreciating her for being a good friend to her, she confesses that she slept with a stranger tonight. She tells Penelope that she kissed a woman and then slept with a man. Sarah reveals that she tried for 2 women, but it did not go well. She was so embarrassed about the call she'd made earlier that she went into the next pub and slept with a guy. As an alternative, she talks about how simple it is to get along with guys. While her friend confides in Penelope, she listens intently and lets her air out any frustrations or confusion she may have. Sarah acknowledges that she is aware that she wants to be with women, but she is unsure of how to give up a bigger, stronger man who can push her around, pick her up, and give her all of his attention. She goes on and on about how much she loves guys and how horrifying and uncomfortable women are for her. Subsequently, Penelope queries her about her relationship with Jane McFarland during their college years, as she sought verification from everyone. As it happens, the one woman Sarah finds herself thinking about constantly is Jane. As soon as Sarah confesses to Penelope that she doesn't detest Jane, she is met with her response, "I hate Jane so much." When she asks to go to sleep, Penelope turns out the light. To discuss our perplexity and problems around sexuality with a friend the following day at work is sometimes necessary for every one of us. While browsing through some women's photos on her laptop, Sarah inadvertently blurts out that she feels like she's watching their autopsies. The customer overhears her and assumes Sarah is referring to her. She storms out of the store and ignores Sarah's calls to return later that day. Sarah stops by her ex-fiancé August's house to retrieve a few things she left behind. He happens to be at home and says he misses her and wants her back, but it appears that she's content where she is. He tries his hardest to act like a jerk and aggravates her as much as he can, but Sarah knows he's a nice guy and can never be mean to her. After she gets her stuff back, she leaves again. The following day at work, Allie shows up to meet Sarah in the dress shop. When her friend's band is scheduled to perform, she asks Sarah if she's free by 8 p.m. and invites her to accompany her. Following Sarah's daily closing, they decide to meet outside the coffee shop. Sarah watches Allie walk out, grinning as they both parted ways. Seemingly still trying to warm up to each other, Sarah meets her at the coffee shop after work, and they take a train to the destination. Sarah stays at the event for a long until getting a call informing Allie she has to go, but not before complimenting her appearance. To resume their hangout, Allie requests her phone number. The next day, August goes to Penelope's house at some other time to drop off some of Sarah's belonging. Without him, she doesn't know what she would have done, so she thanks him for everything. He concurs when she proposes he stay for a bit rather than going right away. She suggests that they play pretend and engage in some of their favorite past activities, but he quickly demands to leave. Because he wasn't feeling well when she walked in and had to vent on her, August apologizes for how she met him the other day. He inquires as to whether she is prepared to explain her breakup with him. Being dumped without cause is, to be honest, a difficult pill to swallow. She seems like she's about to cry, but he's been waiting for her to grin and tell him it's all a joke. He asks when it all began and whether Sarah is really uninterested in males, even after Sarah sobs and apologizes to him. In her speech, she talks about how much she misses dating her college roommate. Even worse, the woman has 2 children and is married. She acknowledges that she is attracted to guys, but she is unsure of her sexual orientation, bisexual, lesbian, or whatever, and admits to having fantasies about them. Her sexual cravings are what caused her to call off their marriage and terminate their engagement, a fact that August openly laughs at. Sarah feels comfortable talking about anything after being a complete mess for the past week. She acknowledges that she had a forbidden love for Jane, sacred, but that it had all been a passing affair. Her romance with Jane made her go crazy about the whole thing, but unfortunately, she gets lost in the bliss of the moment, and now that one act is playing tricks on her. She has always liked women. Sarah, who is uncertain about dating other guys, asks August if she plans to do so. In addition, Sarah has no issue with his asking to date other women. After kissing each other, August departs. The tears that start to build up inside of Sarah are very difficult to contain. Subsequently, Sarah gets a call when she is getting dinner ready. Colleen, who used to visit a dating site, answers the phone and introduces herself to Sarah. Turns out Sarah expressed interest in a husband and wife who are attempting to have their first conversation with her. Although her spouse works in IT, Colleen is an interior designer. She says goodbye to Sarah and requests that she check her mail later tonight after their talk. She meets with Colleen and her spouse, Ben, on a cool evening. The pair responds that people are afraid of them because they are authentic in who they are and what they want, which makes Sarah wonder if they've done this a lot. The majority of the people they meet are also aware that this won't be a one-night fling and realize that Ben will be involved, which scares the hell out of most of them. All of their time is spent discussing the differences in the ways that men and women see and respond to certain situations. Up to the point when it's time for them to part, Sarah thoroughly loves their chat. With an adorable smile on her face, she bids them farewell and gives Colleen a kiss in front of her husband. People's energy is astounding. Sarah smiles to herself the whole way on the train, feeling a little excited when she first boards. Sarah meets her mother and puts her stepdad to bed in the following scene, which takes place at her parents' house. Not only does she tell her mother that she and August are no longer together, but she also gives her an update on the current events and shares her opinions about the married couple she will be seeing for a time. Subsequently, Sarah discloses to her mother that she believes she is bisexual and that she might be seeing ladies for some time. She hopes her daughter will make wise decisions for her life and make the most of her college education, but surprisingly, her mother has no issues with her decisions. Sarah begins to see Ben and his wife more often after a few days. They go out on dates, watch movies, and even hang out like a couple. The next time Sarah and August get together, she tells August about the pair she's seeing, despite the fact that she's more interested in the lady than her husband. It feels quite uncomfortable to August. He wonders if she's staying with them right now, and what will happen if one of them, or possibly both, ultimately gets bored of her. That she would be sleeping with a married couple. She tells him that her relationship with them is really no different from any other typical relationship and brushes it off, admitting that even she gets weary of them. She seems like a rather scary woman to August. When Sarah visits Ben and Colleen a few days later, she informs them with great excitement about her ex's response to the information that she was seeing them. She's abruptly silenced by Colleen, who then admits to having herpes. Following the startling disclosure, Colleen tells them she needs one of them to make a perceptive and consoling comment. When she specifically requests Sarah to console her, Sarah becomes confused and angry, looking at them. Colleen informs Sarah that they cannot have intimacy until they find out if she is negative. Ben tells her he is getting tested this week and encourages her to do the same. However, Sarah claims she does not have insurance and will have to pay hundreds of dollars to have blood drawn, which she detests. That didn't go as planned, unfortunately. Sarah needs help organizing some new clothes, so Penelope stops by the store a few days later. Sarah is constantly staring out the window for Allie, and she observes this. Seeing as how lovely her lady is, she urges Sarah to go on another date. I don't think Sarah knows how to manage the problem with Allie, since she just wants to get down and doesn't really care about love. Pen initially feels bad for herself, but later that day she gives her friend advice on how to manage it. Calling Sarah, August is whining about other individuals. She suspends him to investigate the caller after receiving a call from an unknown number. Sarah looks forward to talking with Allie once she introduces herself. After giving him another call in August, she makes plans to see him on Saturday. She then picks up the phone with Allie once more. She hears from Allie, who says she's stopping by her shop to find a dress for her brother's wedding. If it's all right with her, Sarah asks to have a drink when she finishes work. Allie visits the following day, just as she mentioned, and Sarah notices her physique while chatting with her in the changing room. Allie always knows what to wear, and her wardrobe selection is impeccable. They leave for a nearby location for some drinks in the evening. In the process, Sarah learns more about Allie, her family, and, above all, whether or not she is actually seeing someone. Though she's shocked that her presumptions are incorrect, and that Allie doesn't actually have a girlfriend in the sense that she believes she is referring to the girlfriend that Allie claimed she got her scarf from. Given how uncomfortable she feels around Sarah and unclear of what is expected of her, Allie questions why Sarah asks her out. In an attempt to view her, Sarah shares her feelings about her and how often she looks out her window. She talks about how, in her haste to see Allie, she frequently visits the coffee shop to get coffee that she eventually throws out. Despite not knowing Ali's last name, she admits that she's attracted to women, which may be the reason she thinks Ali is appealing. She's curious to know Ali's opinion, but she also fully understands if he doesn't think she's attractive. After appearing to turn her down by Ali, Sarah goes to see August that same evening. She asks to go on a date right away, but he declines, telling her that he is currently dating someone else. She leaves, pauses for a moment, and heads back home. Rejection seems to be following her this evening. Sarah arrives at the house and finds some letters on her doorpost. She rushes over to Ben and Colleen's house and shows them that she's clear. Colleen turns down her request each week, revealing that they can still be together but that getting laid is not a real disease. Because Sarah always complains about being turned down, she assumes that someone else has been brought in to take her place. Her whining is cut off by Colleen, who also requests that she stop. Telling them to go to sleep, she switches off the light. Sarah makes ready to go the following morning as she gets out of bed, and because Colleen is awake, she walks over to say goodbye. She expresses gratitude to her for everything and the encounter. In order to avoid waking up, she immediately grabs her shoes and leaves softly. After breakfast, Sarah leaves for her job. She writes in her journal throughout the day since she has to keep it current with all of the recent events in her relationships. August is in the midst of foreplay when she phones him later that evening. He lies and says it's a family call that needs to be taken care of discreetly as an excuse for missing work. She sounds a little strange, so he questions the girls if they are not giving her what she needs as soon as they enter the restroom. Her compliments include his meanness. She gets cut off by August, who tells her he's no longer her go-to. Since they are no longer a couple, he tells her that she can't just come to him like she could when they were together. He offers his apologies and lets her know that he is there to her at all times, not just when she wants him. Sarah gives an apology as well. It would be insane for her to not comprehend the situation. Before ending the call, she gives him another declaration of her love. Sarah is starting to feel lonely, since it feels like everything is crumbling around her. Crying, smoking a cigarette, and inebriated, she sits outside the home. Sometimes she would mockingly chuckle at herself. Sarah makes the spontaneous decision to contact her ex. Why not? Jane is the one who initiates it all, after all. After the small talk a few weeks ago, Jane guesses correctly that it's Sarah on the phone when she picks up. Sarah confesses to her former roommate that she loves her and that she has always loved her for a really long time. Despite trying not to, she needs to say all of it to Jane because she thinks about her lying next to her almost every day and she doesn't know what to do about that, or anything at all. The next morning, Sarah wakes up really late. She jumps off the couch where she fell asleep the previous night and soon prepares for work. She dashes into the store to meet some customers already inside, making some purchases. She apologizes to Penelope for coming late on their inventory day. A few hours later, Pen comes to wake her up after she falls asleep while working. She can see that Sarah might just be having a rough time in her life. She advises her friend to get over herself, as she has suddenly become a swinging bachelor who is getting laid all over town. Sarah hands her friend the jewelry binder and nods her head in agreement. Sarah's phone rings with a text message as soon as Penelope leaves. She smiles to herself after reading the information. In an attempt to give him a little scare, she approaches August surreptitiously in his apartment while he is on the balcony and gives him a playful shove. Observing his lightning-fast reflexes in such circumstances, she chuckles. All people experience hyperbolic reflexes. Life loss is something that no one desires. You know they give each other another kiss and stay together all day till nightfall. August uses her computer to complete her job as they share a drink. Since she has resumed writing, he thinks she is content. When August realizes what they are truly doing with their lives, he puts down the laptop. Their intimacy is so unsettling that he acknowledges his continued affection for her. As early as 7 a.m. the following morning, Allie and Sarah strike up a friendly conversation as they stroll down the street to the garment shop. Inquiring about the possibility of finding a shoe to go with the dress she bought the other day, Allie asked to visit the store afterwards. Allie questions Sarah about her later on when she visits the store. She's curious as to whether her feelings for Sarah are simply a result of their proximity or whether there's more to it. This explains her desire for her. Something seems to be developing romantic feelings for someone. It appears to Allie that Sarah wants to kiss her as she invites Allie to move in closer. Sarah does not want to start a relationship with her only to end it midway, though, as she admits. She goes so far as to say to Allie that she can return home if the feelings she is experiencing are simply fleeting infatuation. In addition, she threatens to stop touching Allie unless she pushes her away if Allie allows Sarah to do so. Upon seeing this, Allie chuckles a little and asks Sarah if she has always responded to her requests with such aggression. She says she has dated a guy a couple times, but they are not officially dating. Sarah is inquiring as to whether she has ever kissed a woman, and she says that her experience was nothing like Ali's in college, when everyone was applauding her after it was determined that Ali had no infectious diseases to be concerned about. Would she be up for a kiss? She asks. She puts her hand softly on Ali's head and caresses her hair before giving her a kiss on the lips. Sarah begins removing her coat and head warmer, which prolongs the kiss. As their desires become stronger, the pair matches one another's energies until they stop. From the moment they went on their first date, Ali admits, she's been dying to kiss her. Not that Sarah views the event they attended together as a date. Sarah laughs. As they make plans and preparations to spend more time together, because no one will be dropping by, they spend some more time making plans and exchanging compliments while sporting mischievous smiles. That day marks the beginning of something between them. They relocate to a private section of the store, where they soon start to touch and make out till the following morning when they go to bed. Bidding each other farewell, they leave the store. August and Sarah get together and share breakfast. How she feels about women intrigues him. Sarah tells him they aren't dating yet when he shows her a few ladies, and she selects one or two. He then asks about the woman she is now seeing. Asking to examine her photo, he is taken aback by Ali's stunning appearance. After all, she picked him, so Sarah teases him by saying she has excellent taste in partners. Now that things appear to be going well, they spend the remainder of the time eating and conversing.